Okay, I think it's live. Hey guys, so I'm here with uh,
Michael.
Michael.
Yeah, yeah.
He's from Scotland, if you didn't know, and uh, yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay.
He left a comment on why he disagreed with that video, and I actually really appreciated it. And one of the reasons why I accepted his offer is because one part of his comment, like it was so sophisticated that I couldn't turn it down. He said, capitalists believe that someone should be allowed to employ people to produce a product. Then the capitalist sells the product which you have created and give you less back for your labor while taking the profit, which is called exploitation. Now that wasn't just a generic, oh you idiot, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's where I disagree with the SJWs and regressive left stuff like that.
Right.
So I wouldn't class myself with them. I also disagree with them on like Islam and things like that. I'd say.
That's interesting. Like,
Yeah, because I find their defence of a religion pretty strange, uh, considering I mean it is the communists who are over fighting against ISIS, and we don't like them. So it's strange that people would come out and defend, especially when they consider themselves feminists. Like I don't understand that.
yeah, it
Yeah,
makes no sense.
yeah, it's stupid. That's why I don't class myself an SJW.
Yeah, it's like you were very respectful and the line of argument it's sort of like Karl Marx, where it's an actual concerted effort to make a claim against capitalism, which is just income inequality, or some people have more money than others. It's going to the root of the topic: exploitation, theft, and in
Yeah,
those areas. And
well,
maybe, yeah,
sorry.
sorry about that. No, go ahead.
Well, I see a lot of the points because I was an anarcho-capitalist for a
Right.
while, which is how I can understand a lot of your points and different viewpoints. It was just the more I read into sort of different things, and that it became clear to me that although the left has gone a bit insane, that I didn't think we should abandon a lot of the good principles which I think that we have, um, like equality and stuff. And I know that SJW is bad on about equality, but I mean like proper equality as opposed to you know who turns on the air conditioning and stuff like that. I think that's all ridiculous as well.
Good point. Maybe we should stick with that. What do you mean by equality? Like, just
Um,
so the viewers know.
well, see, everyone under the capitalist system, well, not everyone's equal because there is like a wage disparity, not a gender wage gap, just a wage gap in general.
Right.
And the only way that I think that that came about is people who, start up a business, employ people, and then take the profit which was earned from their produce or product that they created, and then they take all the profit, which I think is theft. So I think that's where
Right.
the inequality comes from, and I think that's how you can have 79 people control like 80% or whatever it is of the world's wealth. Is it no 50%? Yeah, but it's still
Yeah.
insane. When we have the ability to end world hunger 4 times over, you know,
Right.
uh, but yet all this wealth is stuck at the top.
Hmm.
Corporatism has a lot to do with that as well, and I think that you're against that. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
of course.
Yeah. So, but I do think that under capitalism, corporatism is a thing that will always seem to exist under that system because
Okay.
you would need a government to protect your private property and stuff like that. So therefore,
Yeah.
there's always going to be a collusion there.
Right. So just going on to the point about theft. So you would agree that if I came to your house and I took your stuff, that would be theft, right?
That's personal property, which anarchists like me and Marxists and stuff agree on, is you can't steal not private, personal property.
Right. So with that being said, if, for example, I say a capitalist, I employ someone and he decides to work for me under a contract and he gets paid a certain wage, and in the end, I take the profit. That's because I'm employing him, and he gets paid at a fixed rate. I
Yeah,
don't.
are you making the voluntary argument, like voluntary contract type thing? Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that a lot of people in this under capitalism are taking jobs because they're hungry and they need a job to survive, and therefore their voluntary process is corrupted through the fact that uh, they're overruled by the thought that they might starve. So that's why they're
Right.
taking the job. They're not taking the job because, or they just want to make you more money. Is what I
Fair
think
enough.
personally.
Fair point. But I was going with that as like that's not akin to me taking a stuff, going into someone and taking stuff, right? Like there's two different levels of theft. If you could agree with me there.
Well, I suppose, but if you actually think about it, like the workers are the one who create the product. If they weren't making that, then there would be no boss to profit from it, right?
Right.
So if the workers are making that product for the boss, who, in my opinion, is just a salesman, a middleman, who sells what you create and then gives you back as little as possible under a capitalist system, which is what I think they do, because that's why we needed a minimum wage, because they were paying too low and they had to make it a certain amount. Um, and I think that that's kind of the problem there, is that people, they're taking massive amounts to themselves and giving back the minimum wage,
Right.
which is not equal to the labor that they put in. If
Right.
everyone was paid for the product that they were making, the wages would probably be about 30% higher, I would imagine.
Fair point. But is there any case where you can find where the workers come up with the idea of making the product instead of the capitalists?
What do you mean? Like,
Like for example, Steve Jobs, he didn't make the iPhones himself. He came up with the idea, right?
yeah,
The workers in China made the product.
yeah.
But without him, do you think there would have been an iPhone?
Well, um, no, but a lot of, well, actually, yeah, because I think that people create things not to make money, but to just create something. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of joy
Right.
to be found in doing that, and that's what Steve Jobs said, is he loved what he did. And I don't think he was in it just to make loads of money. I think he was in it to create a product which would benefit everybody. And I think that could still be done under communism or anarchism. And yeah, basically that's what I think on that. If you
All right,
agree.
fair point. But is there any, apart from military inventions, in any so-called communist state, can you name any inventions when it comes to technology?
Um, well, I can't, because there hasn't actually been any communist states. A lot of the communist states, as they're portrayed in America, were actually state capitalist
Right.
countries like the Soviet Union and China and things like that. So there's
Right.
never really been true communism. And I think where the difference lies with state capitalism is the means of production isn't given to the workers and it's not given to private people, but it's given to the
Right.
state. And I'm against that. And I think a lot of people confuse communism for giving the means of production to the state, and it's not that.
Fair point. No, reading Marx, like he wanted a stateless society, so
Yeah,
there's definitely that contradiction between
but he also wanted a
Stalinists and
classless.
Leninists. So,
Uh,
sorry, go on.
he also wanted a classless society as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but
But
sorry, you go.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, on like what we were talking about just before we came on, about what was it? Capitalism being responsible for all these inventions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What you were saying, um, and you were saying that communism. No, well, what it was is the point would come up, and you would say this was created by capitalism. Yeah.
Right.
Uh, but what you weren't really thinking about was when Marx wrote the Manifesto and things like that. He was actually saying that you could only do it through a previous capitalist kind of economy, because what he thought was, he didn't think that communism would work in a poor society pre-capitalism. He thought you had to have the capitalists come in, and then
Right.
he thought the workers would have to overthrow and control the means of production, right? Through the
Yeah.
inventions of that system. So he did take into account a lot of capitalism, and it had a lot to do with it, and he agreed. But he just didn't think that it could last very long, because a certain number of people at the top would have like millions and billions or whatever, and then the people down the bottom actually creating are like starving and they're only working to survive.
Fair point. I mean, uh, yeah, that's a part where people really don't understand about Marx. He believed in dialectical materialism. That,
Yeah,
like, that's where I think he would have disagreed with Lenin. That you couldn't take
yeah,
feudal Russia into
Yeah,
his
yeah.
desired communist state.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Lenin had to divide. He had to change the philosophy to suit a poorer country,
Right.
whereas Marx was talking about doing it in like Great Britain and you know Germany and
Germany.
all the places.
Yeah. But with that being said, um, do you actually believe that, given all of the, I don't know what 200 countries there are, there's one specific country where you could transition into your version of Marxism or communism or libertarian socialism?
Britain.
Britain?
Yeah, I think
Well,
Britain.
why so?
Um, because I feel like we've advanced enough, and that if we were to take control over the businesses, worker control, uh, then the people would be a lot better off. Because I feel like wages would rise through that, as
Right.
opposed to giving all the wages to a boss.
Right. And is there, like, when you consider the path taken, would it be, revolutionary socialism or, vanguard type socialism?
Uh, Let me think. Well, what do you mean by that? Like Vanguard?
Right. It's because that's like Marx, believed in revolutionary socialism. That's why I think it was his critique of the Gotha program in Germany, where the
Mhm.
Social Democratic Party wanted a transition between capitalism and socialism. Well, Lenin, he believed in a certain few people, like commissars, running the country. And would you say it's feasible to go with either of the route, or do you want to go full anarchist?
No, I would go full anarchist society, like stateless and workers owning the means of production, so like a libertarian socialism.
Right.
Uh, but I would do that through peaceful and not violent means.
Right.
Essentially, what I would suggest is if the workers of all the things came together, if you could organize and get together, and everyone just walked out of their companies, right?
Right.
The government wouldn't be making any money because the whole country would essentially come to a standstill. But there's no violence in that, right? And it's completely
Right.
legal because, as you say, it's a voluntary thing. According to libertarians, that you can go and work for someone, so you can leave, right?
Right.
But eventually, the government would try to make a compromise with the citizens, like, oh, hang with, and I think that's when we should demand that we control the means of production as opposed to private owners.
Fair
Because that
point.
that's peaceful and it's not a it's not like we're going out killing anyone. And then I think after that, eventually it would lead in turn, after we'd controlled all that, it would lead to, I would say, not pay the government taxes on it, right? And
Right.
then eventually the government would be useless and would, you know, go away. And I think that's a peaceful revolution.
So, okay. Uh,
See,
you said,
a lot of communists believe that you have to go into the state and take over as the proletarians, the workers, and then run
yeah.
it like that, which is a dictatorship. And I don't really think that, because I think if you're in government, you're going to be corrupted at some point,
Right.
and you'll turn it into a state capitalist society, which is what happened because of Lenin and all them, and Stalin. State
So,
capitalism.
so in your mind, there's no role for government.
Eh, No, but I think you could have, like, if everyone was done it community wise, the community has a thing where the people can voice their opinions to, right? But it's not a
Right.
government, like they can't come into your house with guns or anything like that. But I think as a society
Right.
we should have rules like don't kill people, you know, and don't steal personal belongings from people, right? Um, I think as a society that should be a norm, and I think that we should come up with some form of, punishment for that sort of crime. Rapists and murderers and all them. I think they're unforgivable, and I think something would probably be sorted out amongst each community on what to do with these specific crimes.
So
But
that's
I think there could be a type of police force which
right.
only deals with crimes where a victim uh, is within the crime, not victimless crimes, because I don't think that like somebody smoking weed, is necessarily something that they should be put in a jail for.
Totally agree.
You know?
Actually, the world will be a better place if more people smoked weed, but
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I think so. See, can I just define what I mean by libertarian socialism?
yeah, go ahead.
Right. Well, it's what I was saying there, and what it does is it creates a socialist. See, socialism, as I define it, is similar to communism, is the workers controlling the means of production, which is why when
Right.
I say libertarian socialism, I don't mean libertarian with government. I mean the workers controlling the means of production. That's the socialism, right?
Right.
And when it comes to the libertarianism, I would say that people should be free from exploitation, which is why I don't believe in private ownership of land or a business type of thing of the private sector, because I think that is exploitation.
Yeah.
So like that's where the libertarian comes in. I think we should be free from exploitation and free from sort of hierarchies like bosses, CEOs, etc. We should just come together and work, and I think that's more of a meritocracy, because if you're in a company full of workers, the more you do, the more you will all make, you know,
Right.
as opposed to right now, if you're working for a business, it doesn't really work like the more you do, the more you make. It's you make basically the same. But if you have a company, like under workers' ownership, and they're doing all of that, they can decide how much they want to work or not work, and that will impact their profits. And what goes back distributed across the workers. But that way, they've got full ownership of the product that
Right.
they've created. That's what I mean. So that's what I mean by libertarianism, which was the original libertarianism before Americans changed
Yeah.
it.
I was gonna say that that's the French version of libertarianism, right? Left anarchism.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. But you said that you wanted workers' control of the means of production.
Hmm.
Under Marx's time, that was basically the factories. But today, like, what other areas would you see you need workers' control of the means of production?
Well, under most things, really, I would say, pretty much everything. If the workers
Everything.
controlled that, and they were making as best the products they can and working as hard, then they would be making more.
Right.
But then they can't go and exploit someone though, because they can't buy um, private property or start a private business and start ripping off the workers. They would spend that money on personal property, you know,
Right.
and I think personal property is allowed. So you would
Uh,
have some people with more than others. It just you wouldn't be exploiting anyone,
okay.
and no one would get because you can't do the business thing and rip off the workers. No one would get ultimately that rich that people would feel ripped off, you know.
Yeah. No,
You would
I,
earn
I
money
hear
from
you.
someone else, but you would have earned that money.
Right. So you made the distinction between personal and private property.
Yeah,
So like under, let's say, a capitalist system, private property is just something you own. So if you voluntarily own something, no one can take it away from you.
well, see,
But
under the capitalist system, though, the privately owned thing is that you can privately own a bit of land and then use that to get money off of people or make that person go without a home.
can you elaborate what you mean?
Well, like, see, if you've got landlords,
Right.
um, so under this society, you can be a landlord and you can own a bit of land, right? Or own a house, I mean, right? You can own a house,
Yeah.
okay? Now, that and then you can take that house which you didn't build, so the labourers who actually built the house aren't making anything off of your profit, and then you're giving it out to someone else who then has to give you all of their money that they make just to be able to live, and
Yeah.
are relatively usually small, because like if you look at London, a lot of the places that landlords are renting out for like 15 grand a month, 10
Yeah.
grand a month,
Right.
are like two room apartments, you know, and
Yeah.
that's the way it works, because people are really needing somewhere to stay, so they'll try and pay it, but then they get into so much debt with the landlord and get kicked out, and then they're homeless, which I don't think we should do. I think it would be a much better system if we just had it that people were homed where there are homes, because see where I live, there's about 50 homes down the street from me, all empty, but no one can get in them because the council doesn't own them,
Yeah. Right.
right? Whereas if the council owned them, people would be in the houses.
Sorry. Can you just define what council homes are for people
Oh,
in
okay,
America?
okay. Council is like, basically we have local government here, right? I don't really
Right.
agree with a council per se. I would suggest that we should have something where there's a group of people who control, like who who write down who's in each house or whatever, and then that becomes that person's house. And if they leave that house and go live somewhere else, they mark it down, and the house goes to someone else who's needing a home, and they can
Th-
go to another home, right?
yeah,
As
thanks for that.
opposed to, everyone having to pay massive amounts to a landlord who is just making money off of other people who are actually doing some work, but they're not. They're just bought a property and then they just make money off it. And then
Uh,
people can't get a house who need a house.
right. So, would you not say that you gave the example of London? The
Yeah,
people who choose to rent their homes, they have the option of, for example, going to Newcastle, Manchester, where I'm sure the rents are much lower.
yeah.
So, isn't that
But
a voluntary transaction?
well, no, because even if a lot of the places that we're talking about have that right, but there's people who live in London who've lived in London their whole lives and they've got jobs there or something, and they
Right.
don't want to have to up and leave to a new place where it's hard to get a job. See, the thing that annoys me is that like when libertarians in America will say that you shouldn't have any sort of safety net system through the government, right?
Right.
With people who haven't got jobs, right?
Right.
Because but the reason why this annoys me, and under the capitalist system, I would say that you should have that because if you think about it, there's only so many jobs out there, and there are more people than jobs. So some people are going to have no jobs. So how are they expected to make any kind of money?
Well,
And survive? Are they just to starve because it turns out that they were in the people who can't get jobs because there's not enough?
right. But
That's what I'm saying.
that's a totally fair point. But would like wouldn't private charities be a better form of helping people who are poor or who can't find a job than creating a sort of government dependency, in your view?
No, because charities only give to they give so much, but I mean it's not as beneficial. Like if I was to sign on to get to receive money as welfare,
Right.
I would go down and I would get £60 every week, right?
Right.
And £60 is not really enough to live on, but it's enough to maybe get me some food, right, for the
Yeah.
week. Just
Yeah.
basic human needs. That's all a welfare system does. It just provides basic needs to people who have not got a job through unfortunate circumstances, right?
Yeah.
And sure, you get like the odd person who doesn't want a job, but I mean, it's rare, right? It's more rare than people think, and a lot of people just physically can't get a job, and then there's a lot of people who are sick as well and can't work
Yeah.
or have injuries, but they that don't get benefits. And in this country, some of them get declared fit for work and have to go and work. People who are like recovering from heart attacks and broken bone, like a broken back or a really bad problem with whatever, or cancer. And these people are being declared fit for work, and then they have to go and find a job while they're signing on for their £60, you know.
Right. No,
And
that's
yeah,
but well I would totally agree that there should be a safety net for disabled people, people who can't work, people with heart attacks,
what
and
about people who can't get a job because there's more people than there are jobs, so it's physically impossible to do that,
uh,
to not have some sort of system for people.
well, depends on the job environment for me. Like if, for example, you have you may not like this capitalist friendly free markets, then everyone has the opportunity for a job. Now, everyone may not get that job, but what you do with a welfare system for people who can work but choose not to is that it comes as a form of dependency. So it's more feasible for them to live off of welfare, as difficult it
Well,
may be, than to
that's
actually go find a job. Sorry, continue.
yeah, but the reason why I don't find that a very good argument is because most people living off of £60 a week or dollars or whatever you get over there, I don't even think you do. But £60 in the UK is enough to feed you for like maybe a week, maybe less than that, right? And
Right,
the thing is a lot of these people would rather be working, but there are no jobs. So if we took away that, then they would starve, and then they would have to work for an employer, like we were saying earlier, to be further ripped off for the goods they were producing, and the employer would take their profit, off of that,
right.
and then it's not voluntary, you know. It's not a voluntary contract if you're overridden by the will to survive.
Well, it depends on what survival actually means. So just basically having food, shelter, and in the UK, decent clothing because it's cold. It's not very difficult considering poverty in other countries such as in Africa or Asia.
Yeah,
So
but just because we have a bit of a higher standard of living doesn't mean that we're not being ripped off, and
right,
that's not an excuse not to be angry about that. You know, and
right.
I'm not saying angry as in go smash things up or anything. I'm just saying that,
I
like,
hope not.
be politically minded and think about these things because, like, and under your system, which I checked your channel intro and you says you were a libertarian who believed in limited government,
Right,
right? So shouldn't if you're going to believe in limited government at all, you know, if you weren't in all the wars that you're in over there, then you could perfectly afford £60 a week or $60 a week to give to people who can't work. And I don't think that most people on the dole hate being on the dole. They would rather work, but they apply. See, in our country, you have to apply for a job or like a certain amount of jobs every single day just to
right,
receive your £60 at the end of the week. And if you go into a job and you don't like it, you have to stick it because if you leave, then you're barred for receiving anything. You know, it's
fair point.
kind of like saying, "Aye, the standards of living are a bit higher," but it doesn't mean that it's not shouldn't be classed as a kind of slavery. Um, you know, because in my opinion, if you're being forced to work for someone to make them more money,
Right,
uh, while they rip you off, that's not freedom. And the fact that you can't decide, oh well, I'm not going to do that. That's not freedom. You have to choose to either work for this person or die, and that's not freedom to choose. That's freedom to exploit people because you're giving the business owner and the bosses freedom to exploit the workers and take their wages, which they've worked for, but you're paying them under what they've worked for. But in my
right,
country, everyone just assumes that the wages they're getting is proportionate to the amount of work they do, and it's not true because most working class jobs are pretty much the hardest jobs, I would say. I mean, I've been into McDonald's and I hear what people say about McDonald's. I've not worked in McDonald's and I wouldn't want to because I go in and I'm like, Jesus, man, this is like chaos. And I wouldn't like to be standing in there for 12 hours a day just to make enough to kind of like feed a kid or, something like that.
yeah. I totally take your point, but you mentioned that would you call it exploitation that happens in today's capital system is like slavery? So we
No,
know
no,
what's
no, not like 2 seconds. Try to untangle this wire.
right.
No, not as in your slavery, but it's an illusion of freedom when their only
Okay.
choice is to starve or to work for this guy. It's an illusion of
Okay.
freedom. You can say, oh,
Right.
but then you're free to not work for the guy. But if you don't work for the guy, then you're going to starve. It's like putting a gun to someone's head and saying you're free to not work for this person. But if you choose not to, then, you're dead. Well, bye bye. You know? Similar thing. Because
Right.
starvation's just a slower version of that.
But I was gonna say that we have a picture of slavery, what slavery was, and slavery was you work for some like you eat and you make someone else work. Like
Yeah.
that's really not what happens in the capital system. If you would agree with me.
2 seconds. No, but under the capitalist system, it's not you get some food off your master and in return you work for them. In the capitalist systems, you work, you make enough to just live off of some food, and then you go back to work. It's a similar process.
Right.
They've just changed it about to give people the illusion that they're free.
Okay. Fair point again. So what in your view would be being free? Because that's a strong point.
Being free would mean, in my opinion, freedom is a freedom from exploitation, which means no one
Right.
can take from you what you've earned.
Right.
And you're free to live your life how you see fit for your life. Okay,
Right.
but you're not allowed to infringe on someone else's rights by becoming a business owner and paying that person less when they've made you the majority of your money.
Okay. That's that was one of Marx's strongest criticisms, against capitalism, that it was theft, that the capitalist would take the labor of his employees and the profit was the form of theft. But wouldn't you
Mm.
say that, uh,
Well, it is. But yeah,
yeah,
continue. Sorry.
yeah, but I was gonna say that, as I as I gave the example of Steve Jobs, like he didn't have the capital, he had the ideas. So, for example, just think about it. The iPhone
Well, he got a
flunked,
lot of
it
government
failed.
funded things to do that, and
Sorry?
he got a lot of government funding to do that.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, Steve Jobs, when he went with the idea, received around $1 million or so in funding to do that idea.
Yeah, but like if the government itself could do that, then why did they need Steve Jobs? They could have just made it themselves, right?
But I'm not for the government doing that. I'm for the workers doing that. And Steve
No, no, no,
Jobs,
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying
yeah,
that,
yeah, but Steve Jobs creating something wasn't done through capitalism. It was done through his own idea.
right.
And people can still have ideas no matter what system they live under.
Yeah,
You know,
I wouldn't disagree with that. I was going to say that if, for example, the iPhone was a total fluke, it didn't sell at all. Like
mm.
he wouldn't go to his workers and say, "Oh, you're going to get half of your paycheck because sorry, it didn't go well." Like he takes a loss himself, right? So that's where like Marx's labor theory of value really doesn't come under scrutiny. It's that,
But wait. So explain that like just quickly again. So what you're saying is if he took the massive risk, and if that flopped, then he would be worse off.
yeah, right. The people who he hired would still get the same amount of money that they were
Well, they
promised.
would lose their jobs, and then they would have to go and find another one. The people wouldn't get the same pay; they would lose all their jobs. And Steve Jobs didn't invest himself; the government invested in him, so he didn't make a personal loss from that. If the
I'm
government
not
gave
sure I
him
quite
money
get
to
it.
do that, the government gave him money to create that, and he created the product, right?
Right,
And then if the product didn't sell, right?
right.
Because what they do, they didn't just put out the first iPhone as millions and millions and millions of iPhones. They put it out probably in a smaller quantity to see,
Yeah,
and because we wouldn't have had enough money to do so at that point until they built it up to they had millions and millions, and it wasn't just the million for the government. Okay,
yeah.
so there's not really like if you think it that way, they built it up, but when they sold it the first time, if it was a flop, he's not really lost much is what I'm saying. It's not really lost that much because the first products were pushed out through government funding, so he's not lost anything.
Or he's lost his idea. Wouldn't you say that? Like the people who invested in him
Well, if he
outside of
put
the
his
government.
idea out and the people didn't like his idea, then that's not, that's not our problem. That would be his
I'm
problem
not
if
saying it is.
his idea wasn't good.
Yeah, no, it probably wasn't if in that example, but like the venture capitalists who actually invested in the iPhone, like they would take the loss, right? The people who
Right.
invested in it, but the workers, like they would in the end still get their paycheck at the end of the month. They may lose their jobs, but they don't get
Yeah,
half
but
their paychecks cut.
what I'm saying is though, is that the workers are being producing something and then being paid less for what they produce. So like
Right,
I'll give you an example, right? I used to do a job for I was on a government training program thing, right, where they put you into a job on a work placement, right?
yeah,
Where you work for 3 months, and at the end of it, you're told that you'll get a job, right? If you're there
right,
and you work hard and do all this, right? Now at the time, this was when I was an ANCAP, so I was like an anarcho-capitalist, I guess.
yeah,
Um, at this point, so I was all optimistic, like, oh well, I'll go out and I'll do all the work and stuff like that, you know. And you're
yeah,
working extra hard because you've not got a job at this point. You're just living off of like £50 a week from the government program, right?
right,
And they give you £50 a week to get you to that job, right?
uh-huh,
So you're doing that job and you're working like harder than anyone else because you've been promised a job and you've been told you'll get this job if you do just as hard, you know. Uh,
yep,
so I worked for 3 months, and then for about 3 of the weeks that I was there, I had like the flu really really bad. But I wasn't caring. I was like determined. I'm getting a job, and I worked probably twice or three times as hard as the people who were there, right? Just because of the sheer determination to get a job. And then on the last day, because he was giving me all the really hard stuff to do, right?
Yeah.
And I was pushing myself to do it. And by the end of it, he turned around and didn't phone me back or nothing. And he didn't phone the government training scheme, and I didn't get a job. And then that was me. 3 months wasted working like 100% for this guy. Now, what this guy will do is he'll go back and he'll get more people in like me to do that. And then he's taking our labour, which we working really, really hard for him. He was doing nothing, or he was
Yeah.
doing some stuff like phoning people and whatever, but he was doing no manual labour, is what I'm saying. But yet he took all the profit. Now what it was like a valeting.
Okay.
It was a valeting business, and each car
Right.
that we did made him £40, right?
Right.
So like if you do this math, right, each car that we did made him £40, and we were doing about 30 cars a day, okay?
Uh-huh.
And on each of the cars he was making £40. So by the end of the week, he was having like thousands and thousands in his bank, right? Some of that
Yeah.
would have went on buying more product to use, right?
Right.
For us to use. Some of that would have went to paying us our little bit of wages, and then the rest of that profit, which he didn't actually participate in any labour himself to make, he takes that and spends it. That's how like 3 or 4 days later he comes in with like 5 grand worth of stuff added to his car, and that's where
Okay.
it creates this class type of divide that I'm talking about.
I see you.
You know, I feel like the workers in that situation are robbed, and he takes the majority of the money that we made him. And they didn't even give me a job. So, this is what it does. That's what capitalists do: is they look for the best ways to save as much money as possible, um, at the cost of human, labor. They'll just make us do it all, and then take all the profit and give us back what they're allowed to give us back. But if it wasn't there, like if the minimum wage here wasn't what is it, £5.30 or something, then they would be paying us like £3 if they could. You
Oh,
know, that's how
uh,
capitalism works. They take as much profit as they can, and sure, they might reinvest the profit into other things, like whatever. But they're still managing to make more than the people who've actually created the product.
yeah, that's a
Instead,
pretty good
so
example.
the boss is essentially a salesman, and I don't think the salesman should get more paid more than the person who made the thing that he's selling.
Okay. You made a point about, the minimum wage. So, for example, let's just pick you. Like, you're very skilled. Like, you know what you're doing. If your boss is paying you, just say £3, if he could, but you're worth way more than that. You're worth £10. Let's just put that figure there.
Mm-hmm.
Surely there's going to be in a free market. There's going to be someone else who will see your talents and say, okay, he's worth £10. Let me get him. And since
This
it's what
this argument, I hear it being made all the time, but I've never seen this work in practice, and I've never actually seen anything or heard of anything like this, where someone's working that hard and they're worth way more, and then they just somehow magically get picked up by somebody else to go and do something else, you know. But even if you did, you would still be making less than you're producing, because if you went to a £10 job, you would have to work even harder, right? And they would still probably be doing the same thing. I mean, taking your profits. So that by that point you would be worth more, is what I'm saying. If it was a harder job, I mean, because your labor increases,
I'm
but
not
they'd
sure I get
still
what
be
you mean.
taking the profit. Well, if
Uh,
if you go and work, for example, right? If you go and work in a job where they're paying you £10 an hour, okay,
yeah.
uh, the chances are that the labour you're producing is probably worth more than the £10. And the reason they give you the £10 is so that they can take the rest of the profit from your product and pocket it. This is why there's a class of people who make like 40 grand more than people who are making the actual product. You know,
Uh,
that's what I'm saying.
but the difference between if someone in this example paying you £10 and £20 is the the capitalist can't afford to do that, because that's the difference between him making a profit and making a loss, right? So if he makes a loss, then he goes bankrupt in every definition of the word.
Well, the thing is though, is if you were doing the job of a boss and the job of a worker, and
Right.
you were making money as a worker and as the job you done as a boss,
Right.
then sure. right? That's fine. But a lot of bosses aren't doing the same jobs as the worker, but yet they're taking more, and they're not doing more work as the bosses. I don't buy it. And to be honest, yeah, that's what I mean. So like the bosses are doing less work, getting more money. The workers are doing more work and getting less money. What I think
Yeah.
should happen is if the workers had control of the means of production, then everyone would technically be the boss and have to work on selling the product. But the more they do that, the more money that they're going to make, right? Or profit off of the profit after they've bought everything and they spread it evenly, as opposed to giving that money to one guy, right? And
Right.
he spreads it spreads it out, but not evenly. He takes most of it and then spreads what's left evenly, right? That's the same as a
Right.
state taking your taxes, right, off of
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
wage and then redistributing it to everybody. It's the same thing, and I'm not for that. But I'm for it in a capitalist society because of the way it works, because of the fact that no one can get the jobs. That's the reason. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite or anything, but I'm saying that you can't have people just starve because there's simply not enough jobs. Someone's going to have to be out of work in a capitalist system.
Uh,
Someone. There's always going to be someone out of a job because of no fault of their own. Always. And are
Sorry.
we supposed to just turn our backs on them? That's what I mean.
Uh, Someone wants to join the live stream. Do you think we should let him?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm open to any discussion.
Yeah. Cool. Let me just send him the link.
See, this is where I disagree with SJWs. Is I'm all for freedom of speech, and if your ideas are better than mine, then so be it.
Yeah.
But
No.
I think it's important to get out everyone's ideas,
Uh.
as long as it's kind of like respectful and we don't shout at one another and all that. Because I don't think it's very
Right.
productive to do that. You know.
No, because I'm the reason why I'm talking to you is because I do believe in freedom of speech.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
because you
Well, see,
know,
that's where we probably agree on that. Yeah.
it's because like if we may disagree, we are disagreeing right now, but we're not
Yeah.
screaming at each other. Like you're not calling me racist. I'm not calling you like dumb commie or something like that. It's
Yeah.
respectful. It's civil.
Well, see, the racism argument I don't get because there's too many people called racist for maybe stating that maybe like the amount of black people in jail is proportionate to the amount of crimes that black people commit, right?
Right.
Not as a whole, but like black people within that community commit, right? And then I hear people calling that racist, and I'm like, but that's not racist. If you're out committing a crime, right? And a lot of these crimes, maybe like certain crimes where it's non-violent, I'm like, right. But on crimes like murder and rape and all that sort of stuff, I have no sympathy for people in jail for that. And that's a lot of the crimes that's committed, why they're in jail. And that's where I disagree with SJWs as well. It's not racist to point out that a specific group of people, even if you're basing it on, their skin color or whatever, but if it's factual and they are committing these crimes, then why is that racist? You wouldn't call people racist for saying, "Oh, look, white people commit, a higher percentage of, I don't know, manslaughter or something." That's not racist. So why is it racist? The opposite way around.
Well, it's not racist because you're not saying all black people commit
Yeah,
rapes.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
saying that these people who are proportionally more black than
Mhm.
white, like they're committing the crimes, and that's because of you could say this factor, that factor, but you're not at any point saying that black people are intrinsically criminal.
Mhm.
That's how like facts can't be racist. That's the main point.
Yeah.
Statistics can't be racist.
Somebody join in the chat, did you say?
I sent him the link. He can join if he wants. He sent me a comment like on YouTube, and I just gave him the link.
All right. Can you check like all that stuff here, like who's watching in that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll do that right now. It's
Because I don't know how this really works. I've not done any Google Hangouts really.
it's just you set up a live stream and like I can invite you, and then like you press start broadcast,
Oh,
and then
okay.
it's just people can join if I send them the link, or they can like send write whatever they want in the chat.
Oh, okay.
It,
Cool.
it's Stargun Avocado does that a lot. Like he's
Mm.
very good at this.
Well, I actually, like I think it would be quite productive to talk to people like that. People
Right.
like you and Sargon and stuff like that. Because, like, I mean, I probably won't get a chance to because I don't have a big YouTube channel or anything like that where I can. But I
Yeah.
think not enough people representing properly what I think or what my ideology is, and a lot of them are misrepresenting it and being stupid. And I'm for peaceful revolution, right?
Yeah.
Not a violent one, which is why I disagree with Leninists and stuff like that.
Right.
Uh,
Now, I would just like to ask, like, do you think I'm misrepresenting you in any way? Like, I don't want to do that.
no, I don't think you are. But I think a lot of your arguments um, that you would make it probably as a libertarian against the state are the same ones that I'm making against the bosses. But I don't think your
Right.
trail of thought takes it there for some reason, and that's where it is. Like that's where the disconnect is between your type of libertarian and my type of libertarian. Is you don't continue your train of thought down to the bosses. Because it's
Yeah.
essentially the boss is taking more from from what you earned than the
Right.
government is, and I'm happy to fight with you against the government from doing that. I mean, but I'm also wanting you to come and help fight against, bosses stealing people's wages. If the bosses joined the workers, then you would have workers' means of production. We would be
Right.
controlling that. If the bosses just went, look, you know what, I'm going to pay, I'm going to split the profits. After we've paid what we have to keep this running.
Right.
I'm going to split the profits between all of us, and we'll all collectively, vote on things together, as opposed to just the boss making the decision. And I would say, like, if you're going to do that, all the workers should be the ones taking the risk as well. Like they should be the ones putting their money, or not money, but like putting it together and bringing up a business kind of thing, as opposed to just one guy doing it. I think people should come together, start it together. Then all the risk is with the workers, and it depends on how much you produce. So it's similar. I just don't think that you follow it. You just think that bosses should be allowed to do that, and that annoys me because I don't think that stealing from people who actually created the thing that you're selling to people, I don't think you should be taking all their money.
Fair point. Like, how do you? Okay, you're saying that instead of having like, that's one of the main arguments I see libertarian socialists make. They're against all forms of hierarchies, even in businesses.
Yeah.
So if you remove the boss, like, then how would it be that you can come with someone else and then make the product yourself? I find that interesting.
Well, if the bosses, instead of try to protect everything that they've got, came together with the workers and said, came together and then ran it as a workers cooperative type of deal,
Right.
instead. And if we could do that instead of calling the bosses all capitalist scumbags, because a lot of them don't realize this, they just think they're making an honest living, right? If we were to tell the bosses and explain to them why this is all, oh wait, are you hearing that? 2 seconds. Was that me or you?
Yeah, that's me. I just lit up a cigarette. If that's fine with you.
Oh no, that's fine. I need a fag actually as well. I'll probably
That's homophobic, man. Keep going.
What was I saying there? Crap. I smoked a joint before this, so try to remember things.
That's when you're at your best state, like just after smoking a joint. Like, you're very productive.
Yep. But yeah, what I was saying, if we all just came together and we work with the bosses to come over and join the workers and actually see what they do as well, because most bosses don't think that the workers are actually doing that much. A lot of them just take advantage and make the money off it. If they were to come and do what we're doing, they wouldn't be shouting at us, and all the rest of it, to make them more money. They would be like, oh my God, this is actually pretty hard. And then we could all come together, work to produce what we can, and spread the profit among everyone. Then everyone would receive the true wages that they have earned.
If you could just hold, like, someone joined the chat. What's his name? Nicolau. Can you hear us? Or whatever. Like, he's not saying anything. You can go on. Sorry about that.
Oh, there we go. I think he's here.
Oh, yeah.
Hey Jefferson, I can hear you now.
Oh, hi there. Yeah, I can hear you. How's it going, man?
How's it going? I'm Aditya, by the way. Yeah, it's going great. My name is Aditya. I'm from Bangalore in India. Never met you before, but it's really good to hear from you for a long time.
Thank you, man.
Hello?
Hi there. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I didn't get your names, please.
Jefferson. And he's Michael.
you're known as. Hey, Michael. Hey, Jefferson.
So we were discussing, we were going on about capitalism, and he was giving his view on what he finds wrong with the capitalist system. So if you could add anything, go right ahead.
Sure. So capitalist system is actually one of the best things that could be contributing to any given economy in the world. Now, plus discipline of the people as such, country to prosper. Now, giving my personal example, because I'm from India, and since the transition from the Congress to the BJP governments, Congress was the leftist government and BJP is the rightist government. So what happened was they brought in some form of a fiscal discipline, and through which our economy is now the world's largest. So, I mean, I would say that capitalism per se isn't bad, but yeah, there are certain drawbacks to it.
Yeah, but how are the workers doing in India? Because as far as I'm aware, the workers are the most exploited in India, and I've seen videos and stuff from certain places in India where it's quite bad. So it might be okay for the bosses or the people with a bit more money, but it's not for the people who have to work for them to make them that money.
Very true. I mean, I would have to agree with you on 100%. But Michael, one thing I would like to tell you here, in a country like India, it's not a production-based economy. It is more of a service-based economy. So where most of the jobs are actually blue-collar jobs. And now all the production with respect to electronics and any other goods happens across the border to the north of India and China. So we really don't get to see that kind of, tension between the bourgeoisie and proletariat.
Yeah,
we just see the normal.
And they're big, good parts of that country, and the workers are left kind of in the more poorer areas, and a lot of them are only working to survive. As I've said, that's the problem. When your only options are work or die, to make some rich guy more money, that's the problem. Especially when that rich guy is taking all the profit from your work, and he's taking all the profit which you earn through your hard work, and he's giving you a little bit back and taking the rest. That's not a good system. People can become rich off the other people.
Very true.
I don't know how we can call that a good basis for a society.
Jefferson, can you please pitch in right now? Can you say something? Absolutely, because I'm just being torn apart by Michael here.
All right, cool. No, I totally agree with you there, because my family's from India, and but the time when my dad came to America, it was that point where India was transitioning into socialism, that they were heading toward the Russian direction, and if you see the state of the Indian economy for the 40 years of socialism, it was stagnant. Like poverty, there was, it was similar to China in that absolute poverty was a sensation for a lot of people. And in the recent period where India has tried to move to a market economy, they have brought up people from that level, from agriculture, farming jobs, into a sustainable living where they actually feed themselves. You can continue, Michael.
All right. I was going to say, what was it? Socialism, what you were talking about just there.
Right.
I would say that most socialist countries they rely on the means of production being in ownership of the state, right?
Okay. Right.
Which isn't the true meaning of socialism. True socialism is the workers controlling the means of production, but because they do it through the state, it always often results in compromising to the business owners, and they never actually sees the means of production. Instead, it just becomes that instead of taking your demands for a boss, now you're commanded by the state, who is essentially taking over the role of a boss, which I don't agree with. I think the workers should control everything within their factory or their business place, or something like that. That's a better idea.
So would your definition of socialism fit the Spain under the anarchists when they were fighting against Franco?
Yeah,
Would you
exactly
see
that.
that's the ideal?
And under that system, the workers' wages rose by 30% and productivity. No, the workers' wages rose by 20% and productivity increased 30%.
Right.
So they were
But
making what they were earning.
so, would there be any reason you would say that, for example, the Paris Commune and like anarchist Spain hasn't been replicated today in any specific country?
No, but it has been done in Spain, which is a point to be taken, and it works successfully. So the only real example of anarchism that we have was successful,
Oh, okay. But
and that was
it's
true anarchism or libertarian socialism because the workers took control of the means of production. And by the way, that was people from all countries who were over fighting against Franco during that time as well. And
right.
Orwell, is it George Orwell? He lived there under the Spanish Revolution because he was also a libertarian socialist.
Yeah.
Right.
But wait, was he? I thought he was a democratic socialist.
No, he was an anarchist.
He was an anarchist. Okay.
He was a socialist in math terms, where the workers owned the means of production. But a lot of neoliberal kind of reactionaries like Sargon and stuff like that, who I would adopt it, but a lot of them, misrepresent Orwell. They're always talking about an Orwellian nightmare, which I mean, I guess in terms of the free speech on campuses is true. However,
Yeah.
because he believed in free speech, like I do, but a lot of times when they say this, they're talking about far leftists, and he was a far leftist. So, that's my point. I'm a far left libertarian. Like on the political compass, I'm as far left as you can possibly go, and I'm as far authoritarian as you, libertarian as you can possibly go.
Okay. So
Roughly, yeah.
and you're saying that you're for free speech, which I totally admire.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
in a libertarian socialist system, like, how would free speech be protected? Like, for example, if someone says something that's unpopular with the mass population, then how would the right of that individual be protected?
Well, free speech, in my opinion, is only taken away, really, through authorities and universities and stuff like that.
Right.
But the authorities, the police, wouldn't really exist. As I said, it would be for like victim crimes where there's a murder, a rape, or a assault, or something like that. So the police aren't going to take away the freedom of speech. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what the problem is a lot of private universities are being taken over by the regressive left. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they can't continue to make money if these people leave. Okay, so they're scared.
Okay.
That's the reason why they compromise. Now, in a society where there would be educational systems and people who love to teach could teach for what they're due, could teach people and not be compromised through fun. So someone wants to come in and say you can't say that. That's fine for them to say that, but it will not make a policy change within the institution. If that makes sense.
But like, there wouldn't be an official police force in an anarchy society, right?
No.
So
there would be people who maybe decided to serve the community in the terms that they would go after criminals. Okay, but there would not be police who go after people for doing like a wee bit of smoking a bit of weed or for having sex or something like that. Like,
that's nice.
That kind of government. I mean, police force doing that. Like.
I would join you guys for a joint.
They should. That's what we need, really.
Yeah, man.
Like people who disagree to come together, smoke a joint, and then just agree to disagree. Like, don't shout over each other.
I am completely. I mean, I'm sorry, Michael, for stopping you, but I'm completely for free speech, and I can give you one example of what happened in India a few months back, actually. Hindus consider cow to be really, sacred to them. Just as, I mean, they love cow as much as Muslims hate. I hope you can get the analogy where what I'm talking about. So now, since the government in India at that time began becoming a little totalitarian, I don't know, maybe.
Is your
Jefferson, I'm
government
sure you
a
know
socialist
what my
government?
prime minister.
Is your
Uh,
government a socialist government?
It's a complete capitalist government, a
Complete
right-wing capitalist government.
Right.
Jefferson, you must have heard of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, right?
yeah. His party wasn't really that capitalist when it started, but it shifted to other direction right after he became prime
Yeah.
minister.
Actually, when he became the chief minister of one of the states of India named Gujarat,
Oh
he
yeah.
moved from being just a mere RSS spokesperson. That's like India's Republican Party,
Yeah.
all right? The grassroots Republicans. So RSS does most of the thinking for the BJP, and so that's how it starts. Became a little bit totalitarian and a little bit hegemonic, if I may say so.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of students from few universities like Osmania University, JNU, they organized something called the Beef Fest.
Right.
Look, I am a vegan, all right. So I wouldn't be joining them essentially. I'm a vegan because I was born to a vegan family. In India, it works different ways. It
No,
works
I
in a
think
different way because
I
yes,
think
yes, Michael.
I think it's moral. I think people who are more moral, but like at the same time, I mean, I like food, so you know. But I think, yeah, it does make a lot of sense. Like there are a lot of good points for veganism. I just couldn't do it. Like I would not put down.
No, I'm not. I mean, I was born into a vegan family. I was born into a family which does not drink, which does not smoke. But I think I've broken most of the rules, and I would join you guys for a drink anytime if you just call me.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's talk more about this. But let me get to the point, if you may permit me to do so. They had this entire beef fest, which pissed great majority of Hindus off, saying that how dare you have such a thing.
Okay.
And I was wondering, come on, I mean, they are trying to express their free speech. Let them do so. But now comes the writer. Most of these students who have actually organized this beef fest did not do it for propagating free speech, but these were communists who don't believe in free speech, who do not
Religion,
believe in freedom.
religion is pretty much one of the biggest ones against free speech, if you ask me, because every religion says that their God is sacred and you can't talk about or pray to any other god. Well, not every religion, but most of them do. And I don't. If there was a god, I wouldn't really want there to be one because then you have to live under his authority. So anything you do, you're living by his rules. So that's not really free. You're never really free. Although the one rule I would derive is do unto others as you would have do unto yourself, which is what I think I live by, and what probably Jefferson thinks he lives by. Although
Yeah.
we have different definitions because he's happy with the what I would
But
call exploitation. But I mean, other than that though, he's pretty much probably okay.
but you made the point about religion. So what do you think about this criticism that if you take these totalitarian states like Stalinist Russia or communist China, that they replace like the God with a state as their religion?
Eh,
Today's modern example, Michael, just a second. Michael, if I may add to the question that Jefferson asked,
that's fine.
let's even North Korea, for example, criticize Kim Jong, whatever he is, the guy with a weird hairstyle. That's what I call him, and who eats all the food that his government needs, that his people needs.
Are you asking my thought on him?
On just about everything, totalitarian states, please.
Well, with regards to a lot of the ones you mentioned, Stalin, Kim Jong Un, Fidel Castro, Mao, China, they were all state capitalist countries, which means the state took over the means of production and then they took the profit from the workers for the state, right? And that's exactly what bosses do. So if you're against it when the state does it, you should be against it when the bosses do it. And I think that's why I say that bosses and stuff are totalitarian in nature. They are kind of like that. And that's I think we replace the state with bosses now. And like my country, Britain, or in America, we've replaced the state because they don't really do that much anymore with the bosses. So the bosses are the ones taking money. Although the state does still take your taxes and all the rest of it, but they're both just the same thing, only named different. And I hate both, and I think that Jefferson hates one, but is happy with the other one.
Okay, fair point. But then the question comes: your boss, like, or say an employer, like, he can't just come to your house and say, "You have to work for me at this way." You have to consensually agree with that.
He can't. But what can happen though is he can start up a business, right? And then he can go to a government agency and get a boy and tell that person, "I'm giving you a job if you do work hard." Get that boy to work like extremely hard for a job. Well, he doesn't pay him anything because that government scheme, like I'm referring to me here, paid me, and then not call you back after he's took all your labor, and benefited from it, but not gave anything back.
But then isn't the issue with the government agency itself that
look at it
boss
this way.
is able to exploit it?
I made him probably, when the 3 months I was there, like probably way over 20 grand. And I received £50 every week I was there, which is like maybe over the 3 month, like maybe nearly 1 grand. That's a proportion of labour to the actual earnings. If we were all earning that, then we would split that evenly, and my wages would have been at maybe maybe like 5,000. Or something like that. That's what I'm talking about.
But how does that work? Like, if everyone makes the same amount of money, then like that would be everyone being equally poor instead of like unevenly rich.
No, because well, wait a minute then, right? Everyone would be equally well off under that system which I just proposed, because if the workers are earning what they're making, right? And a lot of the times, so like right now, for example, the minimum wage in my country being $5.30, right? If we produce worth however much, and that was split evenly, we would probably be on £15 per hour, right? If it was all split out properly, right? But see, because the boss takes the majority and gives us a little bit, I end up with £5 or $5.30, right? Do you see that problem though? Because everyone would be a lot better off, and it's not like you're stealing off of anyone. You're making the money back from your product which you created.
But like, if, for example, everyone made around $15,
businesses in millions and millions of people, you would have businesses of 10 or 15 people, which would, in turn cause it wouldn't make the wages any lower, is what I mean.
Yeah, but like, if everyone makes anywhere similar to $15,
I'll get a phone. I'll just turn this off then.
No problem. We'll just wait for him, I guess.
Yeah, maybe we should just. I mean, he's making a lot of sense actually. But how old is that guy actually?
I have no clue. We should ask him. Now, the reason why I have him on is that he made very, very sophisticated arguments. It wasn't just, "Oh, you're dumb, or you're stupid."
I mean, he's not like a classical leftist who's just all about shouting and saying that, what, I am right, like Jigglypuff, but
yeah,
the kind of leftist that you need.
Right. I respect that. Like, he's thinking, he's giving his thoughts, but he's also letting you speak and, offer your side of the equation. And I like that.
Yeah, that's like actually being respectful and you know what? Let me tell you one thing. Recently, I've heard one of my professors from college saying that yesterday's leftists are today's rightists, or rather, today's rightists have the same thought patterns as that of leftists of yesterday. Because today, if you look at Modi government in India, they believe in equality, want to bring in right to equal opportunity. It's kind of a right which might not take off, but then they're making it as a form of a state policy. Because I work on policy implementation, so I know how difficult it is to really implement certain policies, and policy implementation itself is a really difficult task. Now, firstly, you have to formulate a policy. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, hi.
All right, cool. I wasn't sure because I just came back, but I wasn't sure if you.
Yeah, I saw you. Like.
Right.
Yeah, I was just talking about policy implementation, Michael, and how difficult it is, because I I mean, I work with the Ministry of Finance in India in policy implementation department, and it is. I mean, since I'm a lawyer by profession, I'm a trained attorney. In India, we call ourselves
I'll phone you when I
advocates.
need you.
Oh yeah, anytime. Give me a call once you're in India.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
drugs and I'll bail you out.
um,
And I think Jefferson is lighting up a smoke. Can I borrow one, please?
Let me see if I can transport it to India.
Next time that you're here, I'll take one from you.
I mean,
So I mean, look, one thing is for sure is that the way Indian government formulates its policies itself is a really difficult task.
right.
Hey, Michael, I hope you can understand my accent.
yeah, I can. I'm a good listener. I can.
Okay, because I have a very thick Indian accent, so
No, you're fine.
But your English. is good, so
We
it's
can
good.
understand you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
okay, I'm not like that tech support guy. Like, yes, sir, can you hear me now clearly? Also, I'm a part-time comedian, so sometimes I make fun of my own grace. That makes more fun, more sense
Yeah.
than imitating somebody else.
I was
Although,
going to
yeah,
ask, what do you call it, Jefferson? I was going to ask you actually before I went away there.
Right.
What would you like? How would you justify that? You know what we were talking about the bosses taking the most of the money. How would you justify that under your thing? And what would you do about people who couldn't work through the fact that there's more jobs than there are there's more people than there are jobs, so it's physically impossible for everyone to be in a job. So what's the argument against helping those people, or and against what I was saying about the bosses stealing?
hey Jefferson, can I take the question, please, if you don't mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine.
So here's the thing, Michael. If I have to take you back by at least 30 years, or sorry, 50 years, so that I can answer this question.
Right.
1955, we had something called the Companies Act, which has been legislated in India,
Right.
which had its inspirations in the British Companies Act, because India was essentially a British colony.
Mm-hmm.
And this entire framework of bosses taking a lot more than what they deserve has been actually given in that act itself. The basic premise of capitalism comes under that
So you're
act.
saying that
Now,
that's fine then? So you're saying that it's fine for the bosses to take the profit from the workers when it was the workers who created the product? Because I wouldn't give a salesperson more than the person making the thing that they're selling.
see, how it has been done is because the Companies Act says that those who put in, who invest their money into equities and securities deserve to get their share of money. Now, when you try to acquire a company, there are two ways of acquiring it: either acquire it through its equities or acquire it through its through
Yeah, but
or through acquisition.
you're talking about things which
I'm sorry.
exist but you're talking about things that exist within the capitalist system, and then
Yes.
you're
So what happened was the reason.
system which allows there to be private shareholders and things like that. You're not justifying that. You're just saying that it happens. So therefore, the morality of that should be that we should give them stuff because it happens. You're not really like what I'm saying
Yeah.
is that we shouldn't have people like that who come in and do that. I think the workers should control the means of production, which means I think the workers who work in the factory should make the product, and then the workers who make the product, go out and sell the product together as a collective. And then when the profits come back after they've paid for everything they need to continue the business, like the equipment and things like that, and the produce and all the rest, after they've got that, then split the profit amongst all the workers. If the bosses want to go and join the workers, right, then that's fine. See if the bosses worked with the workers instead of being bosses, and then collectivized to do this together. And the more they do, the more they make. So that's what I would consider a true meritocracy, not the capitalist system we have now, where you're restricted pretty much to the minimum wage. Most people and most jobs, if you work, you're constricted to the minimum wage, and it's not worth what they're giving. Like, you're putting out more than you're getting given back. So it's not a just system,
See,
in my opinion. That's what I'm saying. You can respond.
Yeah, I mean, I would clearly agree with you on most of the points because I'm a closet leftist,
Right.
just as yet. And because my workplace, look, right now, currently, I'm in the city called Bangalore, which is down south in India. And I work in the city called Delhi, which is up north. And Delhi being the capital of India. So my office, my workplace is essentially centrist and leaning towards the right kind of so during at work I'm not allowed to disagree. I'm just told to just do this and that's it. I'm
Right.
clear instructions. But
Yeah,
as you were
exactly.
talking,
But if you
as
don't
you were
do
talking,
But if you don't do a specific job for someone else, then in a lot of cases you will go and starve unless you're a job unless you have a profession which is really needed, and then you've got control. But in most cases the people don't have that. So what the people have is they have to work or starve and do as they're told or starve. It's not a voluntary action then, because you're only doing it because if you don't you'll starve, right? And if
right.
like you said, you were a lawyer, that can't be consensual. That can't be a consensual contract. If a part of the contract is if you don't do this, you'll die or you'll starve or you'll lose your home or something like that.
Yeah, but the laws in most of the Occidental countries, along with the common law nations, have been written in such a way that you only have a choice for capitalism. You
But
don't have a
I'm
choice
just
for
saying, but that legally isn't consensual. I know the laws have been written around it to help the capitalist system, but legally
exactly.
speaking, in my mind, from what I know, that's not consensual. If I went up to you with a gun and says, "Give me your money," or you can choose not to, but I'll shoot you, then you can't choose not to. You have to, and that's
But
not
the
consent. That's not you consenting to give me something.
yeah, but
If I
the
could come up and steal off you with a gun, you're not consenting to giving me it. I'm forcing you.
yeah, but the business owner is not coming to with you like with
No,
a
no, he's
gun.
not. He's not. But what I'm saying is yeah, you can't look at it that way. You have to look at it in the way that capitalism does that. You either work for someone and take any job that's available, or starve.
Yeah, but like
And I'm suggesting we shouldn't have to go and make money for other people. We should
Like
incentivize
I
making
was
money
just explaining to Jefferson a little while back, Michael, that India has come up with this policy, I mean, clear-cut policy implementation, where they say that there should be a policy of equal opportunity to all citizens. Now, this has come about after Prime Minister Modi. I mean, I really do like him. Therefore, you'll hear me mention him more than once. Where he essentially belonged to a really poor family. As Jefferson might understand, in India, poor means actually really poor.
right. It means actually you're solving.
Yeah.
And his father was nothing but a tea seller in Gujarat.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and he
The
used to
only
sell
reason
tea
we
outside
aren't
of.
starving in Britain, though, is because we can get our £60 a week and not starve. Okay, but at the same time, what I'm trying to say to you is we shouldn't live in a society where we have to give everyone £60 a week. What we should do is collectively control businesses, in order to do it that way, as opposed to the system we have now, where if you don't get a job, you have to go and sign on or starve. Because a lot of anarchists don't want to go signing on. They would rather, do something like what I'm proposing, start a cooperative or something, right? But they have to go and sign on and take government help because otherwise they would starve, right? And you can be principled, but you're not wanting to starve or die. So therefore, we have that system. This is why people in India who don't have that system die on the street if they're not working, and they are poor. They are really poor because of no help. And if there's not enough jobs for them, then that happens as well.
But if
Okay,
you
I might say something controversial right here, and I might be shot dead by some of my compatriots. But here's the thing: in
we'll
India, a
protect
lot
you,
of
don't
people.
worry.
What is it, Jefferson? What'd you say?
I said we'll protect him.
Hi.
Because what happens in India is that a lot of people are poor because they choose to remain poor.
No,
Right.
I don't buy that. No, that
Yes. Let me just explain it. Let me just explain it.
people don't choose to be poor. People are poor, or
My,
they are not.
Michael, I'll just give you an explanation for it. Just a second. So what happens in India is that both of you must have watched this movie called Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah.
Hey, I've not seen it, but I've heard of it.
It's not worth it, Michael. Just not worth it. But if you haven't watched it, it's just not worth it. I don't know why it got so many Oscars.
It was a nice movie.
Here, what happens is that there is this entire mafia of the begging industry itself is a mafia in India. So therefore, when you see a ton of poor people, they just want to, they say that, what, we don't have to work. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do that.
See, no, they're saying
Money just by extending my arm.
no, they're saying you shouldn't have to work, right? People say you shouldn't have to work for someone to make money when that money belongs to you because you put in the effort and then you get less back. Why would anyone want to voluntarily go into a workplace where they know they're getting ripped off? That is the problem. That's what I'm saying, right? As for what was it you were saying as well? People choosing to be poor. I don't buy that. No, people might choose not to work. Okay, but
yeah, see that exactly. That's what I meant to say. I mean, people have chosen not to work in India.
Yeah, but but the thing is though, is I'm not saying people shouldn't work. I'm saying we shouldn't have to work for someone who's going to profit off our labor. Well paying us hard.
But unfortunately, Michael, most of these in India we have this basic statute let's begin with the Constitution of India, which has been derived from the British, Australian, Irish, German constitutions. It's been derived from all these constitutions, and we have the world's longest constitution, believe me or not. And it's, as a law student, as a lawyer right now, I was a law student a few years back. If I could just spend let me just show you some of the books. Can you see the big rack right there?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, so those were the number of books I had to read, out of which I sold most of them out to get some more money.
You're saying what you're saying about people choosing to be poor is a common form of conquer and divide to say that, because what you say is and I've seen Paul Joseph Watson, if anyone's seen him.
Yeah.
He's ever watched it, right? He's the most condescending guy that I've ever listened to talk on this planet. And in one of his videos, he's on about capitalism's the best system ever, and blah blah blah. And and what he says during that is get a job and stop being lazy and all this sort of stuff, right? And people will try to say, but it's not about us being lazy. We can't. We're trying to get a job, most of us under this system, because we don't want to be homeless, right? But we can't get a job, so therefore we need some help, Paul. So would you rather we starve because we can't get a job? I mean, of course we should help people who can't get jobs. And the problem also is though is you're presenting it that either you're the bad person for not wanting to work, or you're lazy for not wanting to work, when it's more a case that people don't want to work for a guy who's going to rip them off, aka the boss. People are willingly happy to work under the system that I'm talking about. That's why in Spain during the revolution, when they went to an anarchist type of country for a bit, the wages went up and productivity increased, and more people were willing to work as a collective together and do that than go and work for some guy who was going to take all of their profits.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you 100%, but Jefferson, if you have to say something, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say that you're giving an example of where if you don't work, you starve. But
it's something like that. If not so much in Britain. If you don't work, you don't necessarily starve. Although you can go homeless, and you can lose houses and stuff, and you can starve. But the thing is, in this country, is we have some form of safety net which helps people. But like I say, that's only an illusion of freedom. That doesn't mean that if you wanted to go, say you wanted to live your life and just go camping everywhere, right? and just see the world and stuff like that. You cannot do that under capitalism, because far too often you get kicked off of someone's land for camping. You can't go and do that. You have to pay mass amounts to get into campsites around the world, right? And these campsites cost you £30 a night. It's well, if I was going to pay £30 a night, I would just go to a hotel.
Right.
You know what I mean?
What surprises me is this: two gentlemen from
crushes creativity as well. Like that, let's not forget that creativity is crushed under capitalism, because people feel like, for example, if if you say you make something, right,
Right.
and then and you enjoyed making that, you're like, oh, I quite like it, and then you get put into a work where you have to constantly create that. No one's creating anything new. Everyone's creating the same thing over and over and over again, right? And that's another form of it because it gets boring, and you want to do other stuff, but you can't. And
But in
especially,
in capitalist societies, we have these. I'm not sure if these are present in socialist societies. There is this entire volume on something called trademarks, and I have studied extensively on it, worked extensively on it. In a communist society, can you actually? I mean, who owns the trademarks? For example, I have worked not even dealer than trademark. I'm talking about a patent, a copyright.
hey
I
guys,
have worked.
hang me for I can only stay on here for another 10 or 5 minutes because I need to go get my dad a Chinese.
Totally fine.
Some Chinese. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, as I was saying, the entire model of capitalist of laws most of the countries. As I was just listening to Michael, I was also looking through the company law of People's Republic of China. The way that statute has been written is totally different, and it actually meets criterion of what Michael says. And now, other thing which I found it really surprising is that when Michael and Jefferson both were saying that you could possibly starve unto death in the United States because
well, you
because
can.
what you I mean,
Veterans in the US are starving on the street.
but here's the thing: India is the country where they say that there are opportunities, but uh,
Yeah, but that's what the
it,
rich tell people to continue to believe that they're in a free society. They say, "Oh, well, you can be rich too," but all they're saying is you can exploit other people too and rip them off for their product. All right, I don't really want to
mm,
partake in that. If I was going to start a business, what I would do
mhm,
is if I was hiring people, I would say to that person, right, we're going to take the burden of everything together, right?
mhm,
Right.
And after the
mhm.
profits, after we've paid for what we need to do the business, after the profit, because we've all done the same work, because as a boss, I wouldn't just do nothing. I would work with them, right, all together, and then pay equally the profits, and we would all decide that. You
That's
know,
called paying off the dividend. Now,
well,
now
it's
with
paying
respect to
people a
dividend,
bonus for the work that they did, and that's what I think. That's what I think being an honest worker is. It's not it's
yeah,
not
that's in. See,
not saying
Michael,
that
times have
you should
changed,
be rich.
Michael.
Yeah, but it's not about saying, "Oh,
Times
I
have
should be
changed. Now
rich
we are
and
no
you need to
longer in a
exploit people."
society where we
Until
are in production any further. We are into service-based economies
Right.
worldwide. And when we look at production-based economies, there are just a few in the world. In India as a whole, India is a pretty big
yeah,
country. I
but you
mean,
can
seventh
still
largest in the
sell
world.
your services. You can still sell your services.
Yeah, I
For
sell my
example, if I was
services.
going to
I
go
get paid
valet,
some more.
if I was going to go and valet a car, okay, I would
Mhm,
charge the amount that that service costs, and that would be like £25 for like just a regular wee mini valet, right? And
Right.
then I would take that, and if me and someone else had done that car, but I'm the boss, I wouldn't then take more of that money. I would half that £25 between us after we had paid for the stuff that we need to do the valeting or whatever, you know? So then it's fair
Here's the
because everyone's
thing.
doing equal amounts of work and everyone's being paid equally. And
But everyone doesn't
you,
work equally.
yeah,
Exactly.
but they do. A lot of people do.
No, they don't.
How do they work
hmm
equally?
Because
Well, in a
yeah.
production factory, right? In a production factory, the typical way it works is, for example, most people do similar amounts. Whether it's by a few or a wee bit more or whatever, it doesn't really matter, right? But the way it would work is if there was 10 people all working hard, then
Right.
you take the benefits from that. You take the profit back and split it between you. Okay? But what I'm saying is that you're making the argument, well, what if there's a lazy guy on in your team and he's just taking all of the money,
Yeah.
right? Is that what you're saying? Well,
Right.
then I think collectively, as the workers, you would say to that guy, you would say, here, we're doing all the work and you're not doing anything, all right?
Hmm.
And you would say, you can't take the reward for not, you know, if you're not doing anything. So start doing something or you'll have to go. That's what you would say. That's how I believe it innovates.
But
production,
in communist
because
societies,
you
it's
can
said
still be
that
fired under my ideology. You can still be fired if you're not pulling your weight to help everyone. The only time it becomes different is if it's someone who comes in and say they've got a disability, so they're a wee bit slower. You don't punish that person, you know, and you don't punish anyone who's just working at a regular rate, you know. But like, if that's what I'm saying, that's my point. Sorry.
hey Jefferson,
Yeah.
you're of Indian origin or Bangladeshi, one of the two, right?
Yeah.
One of the
Bangladesh.
two. So Bangladeshi.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a
Guys,
bummer because if you were,
but it was good talk. So
yeah, it was really good meeting you, Michael.
Oh, it's really nice talking to you, man.
yeah, man. If you ever want to have another conversation, maybe we could like, if we have another one, we could write down or send emails and decide exactly what to talk about and kind of structure it more. But I just wanted to have a free, open conversation today. So I think we kind of done that though. You know.
Yeah, it was really nice. Just
Yeah.
I was civil, so that's what I most appreciated.
Yeah, well, as I said, I come from that kind of community, the ANCAPs and stuff like that. I was also like kind of like a neoliberal or whatever you would call it, fiscally, anyway, but I'm not anymore. But anyway, I just wanted to come on and kind of give you my points or whatever.
Yeah, I totally appreciate it. It's we can agree to disagree, but at least we're getting our ideas out, and then we can find some common ground.
Yeah,
like that's what it's about.
Are you just wanting to continue the hangout, and I'll just leave the call, or are you? Yeah.
It depends on you, Aditya. Like, do you want to continue, or like, is this enough?
Let's continue for a little while, and then even because it's already 12 a.m. right here in India, and tomorrow evening I'll be flying to Delhi. But we can just continue because I've got a couple of points to make.
Yeah, go ahead.
Post which
I'm just going to drop out here, right? So it was good talking to both of you. If you ever want to chat again, you know my email. Send what's your name? The guy from India again. Sorry, what's your name again?
For me?
Yeah.
I'm Aditya.
Okay. We'll get my email off of Jefferson, and then if you ever want to hang out, just contact me. Okay.
Sure, man. Sure, Michael. It was really good meeting you.
Right. Bye.
All right. See you, man.
Bye-bye. He's out. All right. He's out.
Yeah.
Okay. So since you're of Indian subcontinental origin, I could tell you one thing. When we became independent countries post the British law, post the British rule, India went the extreme socialist way. Because if I could read out a passage out of our of the Constitution, the preamble, it says, "We, the people of India, having constituted India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic."
Yeah.
Okay. It's in the Constitution that we are a socialist economy. Now we have started, move substantially from that place on different levels altogether. Now, there is one particular really weird aspect of it. You have to tell me what's the US example of it, because I can give you the Indian policy of it. If a person works in the government, any of the government offices, if he gets a job there and starts working there, it's impossible for him, literally impossible for him to get fired. But what about the government officers in the United States? Is it feasible for someone to get fired or something like that?
Yeah, you can get fired, but like the bureaucracy is really huge. So a lot of the times you will see that people will not want to fire him, but there is a way to fire him.
Because if some guy just does not work, I mean, like Michael was saying, what if he does not work at all and he's just lazing around, and collectively they can say that, get out of the office because you're contributing absolutely nothing. Such a thing in socialist societies are a big pain, because in a country like India, like I personally have seen a lot of times whenever I go there to get my license renewed or my passport renewed, it's a pain, man. It's a real pain.
I mean, getting a driver's license here sucks. It's like the people there, you don't know how they got the job, but like that's where the government, like it sucks everywhere. It's just like you have to find out how to make it suck the least, if you get what I mean.
You know what happens? Yeah, I know. I totally get it, because what happens in India is that you're nice, you're smiling, like, showing all your 32 teeth. and then you're so like, please give me my license. He'll say that, yeah, sure, your license, I'll give it to you, but hey, bribe me.
Yeah, no,
He doesn't get fired.
Yeah, because in India, like the corruption's like it's all over the place. Like in order to succeed, you have to bribe some guy and then bribe another guy, and then from that you can get out of somewhere to a decent living. And that's so different in America, where it's just your merit that determines how much money you make.
So that's exactly the thing. When when two Western gentlemen keep on telling me that, talking about the fact that life in the West is difficult, I mean, I'm sorry, but I kind of wonder, is it true? Simply because of the fact that in India, our life is so difficult because we don't get.
Yeah.
I mean, only thing that India is much better than America is healthcare. That's the only thing. Healthcare and telecom, we are way superior to you. I don't know because my sister stays in the US. So
Right.
she was telling me that in order to get an appointment with the doctor, she had to wait for 2 long months.
Right.
Just walk into the hospital and say, I need to meet the doctor.
Yeah, healthcare is really
Maximum
bad.
of an hour or two. Just in a matter of an hour or two, I'll get to meet the doctor. And I might have to shut out a little bit, but it's okay. It's not as bad. And I heard people die in the ambulance because the what do you call it? Cardiologist is in Miami with his wife. Okay, that's for a different day altogether. This conversation is for the way we're going about is for a different day. But most is that when people in the West say that West is a terrible place to live, capitalism has ruined things, and for a person like me from India, we are like, are you kidding me? Because we spent most of our lives just dreaming of a day that we could come there and be amongst you guys. I mean,
Yeah.
look, this is the brown dream, man.
No.
Brown dream isn't making it big in India. It's more making big in the United States or making big in Canada or Australia or UK. It's nothing to do with India.
I totally agree. It's being rich. It's nice to be rich in any country you can pick, but if you want to be poor, you would rather be in the United States or the West than in India or China. It's because
Exactly.
like in capitalism, like the people at the bottom, like who make the least amount of money, they have a decent life. Well, if you compare that to socialist countries, like they're actually starving. Going along with Michael's point.
Yeah, because what happens is that when Michael keeps on insisting on the fact that insisting that production should remain in the hands of the workers, as it happened many times in India. For example, there are a few companies, government-owned companies, which haven't come up with a product for past 60 years. No product, absolutely.
Right.
All right. Such a thing would become the daily means of work, or daily just the story of every single day. Go to work, relax, play cards, play rummy, play bridge, have your lunch, come back home. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, being of Bangladeshi origin, you must have heard a lot of stories of this sort, and that's the reason why your father's like, no fucking way am I going to stay here, I'm leaving.
Yeah. No, that's it's because there's a difference between having the equality of opportunity to succeed and then the equality of outcome, as in you all get paid the same. Like
Exactly.
you should be able to succeed, contrary to what Michael believes. But if everyone makes the same amount of money, it's either they're equally poor or equally starving.
Exactly. So what happens is, whenever someone in the West keeps, again, let me just, SJWs, I hate them all. Trust me, I hate them. Hate is too strong a word, but I hate them for various reasons. Firstly, they say that US economy, the US way of life is bad. Like they going on about it all day long, and then they say that, okay, show me one country or one set of countries which have better system, and they point at Europe. My point is this: if white men are evil, they are bad, and they have caused all the evil in the world, European countries are whiter than America. Just for the record. If you want to see some real wrecked economies, please come to the east. You can see some really wrecked economies. One of the world's most wrecked economies. Look at Pakistan. Look at Afghanistan. Look at Iraq. I mean, these countries don't even have a single white person amongst a million. Therefore, they are wrecked. I mean, I'm sorry.
No.
But there's nobody else to listen to us. So I would say that even race and discipline has something to do with economies. Now, why has capitalism succeeded so very well in Europe? Because European race is self-disciplined.
Right.
And for example, during my travel in Europe, I'm sure you must have come to Bangladesh. And have you visited India before?
No, I haven't.
So please do come. You could be my guest.
I'd love
be
to.
my guest, meaning you could come over and stay at my place, and you could see it for yourself. I mean, how terrible things are here. Now, during my travel in Europe, I have seen that there are long stretches of road without a single cop minding the traffic, saying that, hey guys, you got to stay in this lane, you got to stay in that lane. Whereas in India, 1 out of every 10 cops deals with traffic.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
That's to discipline these bastards. I mean, sorry for using a really bad word, but
go ahead.
Because these guys cannot just stay in the goddamn lanes, stay in the lane, drive properly. So your thing is that they is extremely self-disciplined. They discipline themselves. They don't look for somebody else to, come up with a stick and say that if you don't behave, and hit it like this, like, let me just show this. Oh yeah, if you don't behave, I'll be a big bad bastard. So that therefore they have progressed. Why have we not progressed? Is because once the British left, we took our freedom for granted. We took just about everything for granted. So therefore we remain back. And SJWs look at us and say that, oh, Indians probably might have a better system. I was like, no, they don't. They really don't.
Yeah, no.
There's a reason why people from India want to move to the West is because we have brains, and plus we know which side of our bread is buttered. We know for a fact that here we cannot be the best. If at all I would want to progress, I have to move to the West.
Yeah, you don't hear people from the West desperately trying to go to India. That just doesn't happen. And go ahead.
Because it's just stupidity. Even when people, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, the thing I disagreed with Trump the most, when he said that he has been to India, India is a great country. Everyone who comes to India says India is a great country.
They're trying to be nice.
I don't know. I'm sorry?
They're trying to be nice. That's all they're trying to do.
Because they want the Indian vote. I mean, Indian vote is a huge vote. And most of the Indians might be wondering.
Yeah, also India is a big ally for the United States. Like
exactly.
Right now.
And Indian folks would be sitting and wondering, India, a great country? Are you kidding me, Kunal? This guy's gone completely mad. But then, Kunal would say, Raj, this is very true. Our country is great. But nonetheless, we have come here. Now be happy. Vote for this man.
That's a very good Indian accent.
Yeah, because this is my natural accent.
But that's more of like what you hear like in The Simpsons with Apu from Kmart.
What happens is that each part of India has a different accent. For example, I can do a accent from Delhi, where I stay right now, and it'll be like, dude, you should understand this. This is how things work, man. Fucker, you don't listen to me, I'll belt you right now. That's kind of that's how they speak, really aggressive. Whereas you go to down south in Kerala, they're like, if at all you don't understand what I'm saying, it's perfectly normal. It says, my name is Edwin. I am from Kerala. I want to one small help from you. I want to go to Guildford tomorrow morning. Any of it? No. Did you get any of it?
Not really, but
yeah,
I see the differences.
Yeah, it's a huge country, and sometimes we just wonder why is it. sometimes I begin to wonder, why is it one single country? But if it isn't one single country, Bangladesh would have been in a pretty bad state. I mean, being under Pakistan itself was pretty bad viewed until 1971.
No, I
Where
want.
Go for it, Jefferson.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I really think that India should have been like one country with Pakistan and Bangladesh, because like the rest two are failed countries. Like, that's all I can say. Like, who wants to live in Pakistan?
People who hate India. I'll show you a guy named what's his name? Zakir. Not
I hate that
forgot his
guy.
name. Not Zakir
Zakir
Naik.
Naik. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about one more guy who wears a weird cap, and he keeps on ranting about India, saying that India is such a nasty country. They oppress people in Kashmir and this and
Oh,
that.
okay.
Well, forgot his name. He's a really cartoony character. So, Zaid Hamid.
Okay.
Give him a look. He's a weird character, really weird character, and who says that it was India's plot to. I mean, it was India all throughout who wanted to split and East Pakistan as Pakistan and Bangladesh.
Right.
And he also says that, okay, yearly around 200 Bangladeshis are killed at the Indo-Bangladesh border for trying to illegally cross into India, which I would say that it's stupid. It's wrong on Indian soldiers' part to shoot dead people, Bangladeshis, especially when they are a favorable country. But coming back to the topic of capitalism and economy, many a times I've read that till 1971, Pakistan was Asia's second most industrialized country, which is not a joke, which is actually true. You know this particular aspect of it, that most of the industries were in Bangladesh and the money was pumped into Lahore.
I've heard of it. It was because like the people controlling, the two countries, like the West and the East, like they were mostly from Pakistan, so they would be the rich people. So they would be the ones who hire people in Bangladesh. So that's complete. I would expect that to be.
Because even today, Bangladesh is essentially a production-based economy.
Yeah.
It hasn't progressed like India, which has gone to service-based. Because India,
Right.
if you talk about software, if you talk about solutions, all of it comes from India.
Yeah.
But you don't get IT companies in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, or in Pakistan, or in Nepal, or Sri Lanka. It's something, but I'm not sure what you get in Sri Lanka, though. I mean, I really do not know. I really would want to visit that country, and I'm sounding like a real stupid leftist right now, or rather, an ignorant Indian for not knowing what my neighbors are up to. But honestly, I don't have the time to sit and go through what Sri Lanka is up to. But see, Bangladesh is still. You were saying?
No, I wasn't saying anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Bangladesh being and also, do you know that Bangladesh is the world's second largest producer of jute
Probably, yeah.
clothes? For example, I have a US Army hat which is made in Bangladesh. Imagine,
Yeah.
just saying. So what happened is, like, I had told my sister to get one for me from the United States, and she said, "Look, it's made in Bangladesh. You should have just gone up to Calcutta." So, so this had to go from Bangladesh to Calcutta, Calcutta to the United States, and back.
Yeah, because it's really cheap to make in Bangladesh.
Exactly. So this is where capitalism is actually working really well. I mean, most of American economy is working on outsourcing things. Now, Trump is going to said that he would want to get rid of the Dodd-Frank Act. You know what the Dodd-Frank Act is?
Yeah, it has to do with Wall Street.
A lot of things. It has got to do a lot of things. It also deals with credit default swaps, weather derivatives, and a lot of aspects of with respect to finance. And also there are certain aspects of the Dodd-Frank Act which permit these companies to outsource their work to some other countries. Now, what he wants to do is cut down on them. So what's going to happen is that essentially the price of production is going to increase substantially.
Right.
American labor is much higher than the cost of Indian labor or Bangladeshi labor or Chinese labor. Now, So I don't know how the economy is going to change, but we can expect some change.
Yeah, I disagree with Trump on that because, like, I believe in free trade. I don't believe in his policy of protectionism and tariffs. So, like, free trade is the best way to lift people out of poverty in these poor countries. So, like, I
But
don't want him to go with that.
but how would an average white male from not from the Republican states in Bangladesh or in Asia? I mean, he really does not care. He would want his job to remain in the United States. So
Well, the prices for
yeah,
his goods will be cheaper. Like, that's how he will benefit.
yeah. And if he's like a complete idiot redneck who would say like, "Hey, Billy, I need a gun and I want to go down hunting tomorrow morning," that kind of a guy, I think he's just going to have a bad time.
Well, like, if Trump does bring back, those manufacturing jobs in factories, they'll all be taken by robots because it's cheaper to hire robots for U.S. companies than to actually hire rednecks. So it's an economically stupid policy.
The problem with rednecks is that you have to train them first and tell them, "Billy, put the cigar down."
I mean, like, either way, like, I don't think Trump's going to be able to strip Dodd-Frank and, like, put on protectionist tariffs. I hope he doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think he would because, I mean, let him just stick to foreign affairs is what I would suggest.
Yeah, just cut taxes and just stick to foreign affairs. Like, that's all I need him
Stick
to
to
do.
foreign affairs. Yeah, don't mess with finance because finance is a totally different ballgame. You did not fight the elections on the basis of finance. You fought the elections on the basis of internal policy and foreign policy. And I'll tell you something funny. When Narendra Modi won the elections, a friend of mine comes up to me and he says, "Today, Modi, instead of going to his mother and thanking her for his blessings, he should be actually going to Manmohan Singh's house and saying, 'Shut, because your stupidity is the one which won me the election.'" This is what a friend said. I didn't say that. So, and because if some Indian who's watching this broadcast gets angry and he would want to file a suit against me, I would say, "I'm really sorry. I didn't say that. My friend said it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who he is if you file a suit against me." So, and also the free speech rules in India are kind of narrow. You can't just say whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I heard that. It's like you can't offend other religions. Is that true?
You cannot. You cannot. Anybody. You cannot offend anybody. You cannot offend political parties. You cannot offend people. You cannot offend minorities. You cannot offend the majority. You cannot offend anybody. Just be nice.
Yeah. I'm sure that works. Just be nice.
Just be nice. Yeah. And I'm the kind of one who goes around saying that, "Hey, are we still strong as one country?" And I get the boot.
So you think?
So what happened?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Your question is more pertinent.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, so you don't believe in one, like, India as in one country?
See, what happens is that if a person like me who's from the south, I'm from this city called Bangalore, if you have heard of it.
Right.
And I am an upper caste Hindu. What in common do I have with an upper caste Hindu from somewhere like Himachal Pradesh or Haryana? Absolutely nothing.
Right.
His food is different. His language is different. What unites him and I is the fact that we both are Hindu and upper caste. Now, I don't believe in caste system because it's
stupid,
to say the least. It's stupid. I mean, because I'm an upper caste, it means that I have a bigger stake in the pie. I mean, bigger claim over the pie. It's stupidity. I mean, what happened to the policy of equal opportunity to all? And Prime Minister Modi always says, "Sabka saath, sabka vikas." Everyone together and development for all. Because the basic minimum provisions that, for example, states what you take for, which many Americans take for granted, is that you'd have, if you go out to work, you'd have basic minimum salary coming your way. There is no question of you not getting a salary.
Right.
a minimum wage. But in India, we don't have this concept of minimum wage, which they said that they would want to put it across, and there are only for certain sectors that there are minimum wages. Now, I have a friend, a lawyer by profession, and he earns just about how much? 300. Yes, $300 a month.
Right.
Or how much would that be in rupees? No, not $200 a month. So you can imagine how terrible that his lifestyle is. I mean, imagine, and he is qualified by through the bar. He's he goes to the court every single day to argue, and he just gets 200 a month. At the end of the day, end of the month, he gets his $200. That's so low that he cannot even survive in India, leave alone in the United States. I'm not sure. So with $200 in your pocket, can you just survive in the United States in any given part?
Well, you can have your necessities met, like food. Probably if you stay with your parents, then you'll be fine. But the rent's pretty expensive, so.
Yeah, this guy stays with his parents, so he's pretty much sorted out on that regard. I mean, in Indian rupees, he's getting around 10,000 rupees a month.
Right.
It's just stupidity. I mean, my salary is much higher. I'm not going to talk about salaries right here, but in India, the basic necessities aren't met for many.
Yeah.
When people say that India is a brilliant country, India is a great country, I would say that yes, it is a brilliant country for those who do not know what the ground realities of India. And if a foreigner by any chance would like to say that India is a great country, I would actually accept it with open arms, saying that yeah, India might be a great country, but because it's our internal problem why India is not that great. It's not for somebody else to advise us on that. So that's how I look at it. And the other aspect that I look at it is that India's internal policy and policy towards its people itself is really messed up, was messed up. Now it's improving. And I hope it continues that way.
Hey man, I have to leave right now, so if that's cool with you, I'll just end the broadcast. It was great talking to you and Michael. And if anyone else wants to disagree with me, feel free to do so. I'll just talk to you later then. I'll send you Michael's email.
Yeah, I'll send you mine as well. I hope you have mine.
Just send me a comment on YouTube. I'll take it from there.
All right, sounds good. And thanks for the shout out on the Muslim question.
Yeah, no problem. That was a great suggestion.
That was just started. Man, I mean, it was really good to meet you after a long time. It was really good to meet you for the first time.
Same.
Sorry,
thanks a lot, man.
But good. Yeah, cheers.
Thank you.